Okay, in the meantime, I will go ahead and call this meeting to order at 7:01 p.m. This is our agenda, and without objection, the agenda is adopted. As far as old business and announcements, the LNC update. Dave or Martin, when are you guys on?
Doesn't look like either of them are here.
Okay. We can go directly to Mr. Mosley. Just in time. Mr. Cowan, you are on deck if you are able.
Hey, can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. It's always a great pleasure to represent Region 2 as the alternate. I don't have any report from the LNC. I do want to remind you all that both of your representatives, Martin Cowan and Dave Benner, have both announced that we are not going to run again for these posts, and that some of you should very much consider putting your name in the hat to be on the LNC when the time comes at the convention in May. So keep that in mind. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. As I say, I don't have any, there's nothing that's meaningfully that's happened since our last meeting that I attended. I did miss a meeting yesterday, and so did Dave. But any questions? If not, I thank you all for allowing me to serve, and I will see you next month.
All right, thank you. We will move on. Let's go directly to the budget. To Mr. Mollenhauer.
All right, thank you. Okay, so I would like to propose the 2024 budget. We ended 2023 with a net negative of 2,144 as far as our net goes, and it is predicted with kind of adjusting for when convention income is coming in, that if we go at the same rate of membership and donation income, that we will be at a net negative of around 3,700, a little over 3,700 for 2024. So I'm proposing that we make take several strategies and actions to increase our membership and donation income. And I have a plan of how much, so let me share my screen. Okay, so kind of some of the differences between last year and what we'd want to have going for this year is to, by spreading out the increase across membership and donation, by increasing membership amounts by 25%, pledge income, and sorry about that, someone keeps calling me, and donations spread across by 20%, we can safely put ourselves breaking even and slightly positive. How I think that we can do this is by increasing the membership fee, specifically targeting lapsed members. The amount of membership that we'll get from the Great Create and hosting a gala later in 2024. And I think if we take those steps, we'll be able to make this budget.
Cool. Are there any questions?
Is there a comparison from 22?
I can make that.
Okay.
What specifically are you looking for as a comparison? Just all the numbers across?
Yeah, just all the numbers across so we can have like a 3-year, like this is what it was, this is what it was last year, and we're at the beginning of 24. So
Yeah, I think that's a fair thing to ask for.
Okay. Yeah, I can make that, and I'll post it in the executive committee.
thank you.
Mr. Aiken?
Are these tied to us doing anything specific, or is just going to sort of blossom?
There are some specific things in the works.
Any clues on what they might be?
Yeah. One of them I can't talk about just yet because we haven't confirmed it. But the first thing will be fundraising donor care, working on that. Some of that will be working with the membership. Alex and I were just talking about some of the some automated stuff we can do to start getting lists out to specific people to make calls and to get our members and donors, especially our new people as they come in, getting them taken care of as far as, hey, what do you expect? What do you want to do? Do you want to get involved? Do you want to give lots of money? Generally when somebody gives to a political party for the first time, especially, they're either looking for getting their feet wet with the donation or they want to get involved. So those are some of the very baseline, basic things. Elizabeth, you
Are
had
we
something?
going to be monitoring this? I mean, do we know how many members we have now? Do we know what kind of activity we're going to do on a monthly basis? Do we have an expectation of how we'll convert those activities into impacting the number of members that we have?
Yes, we're working on those metrics. So we'll let you know when that's good to go.
Well, I mean, will it be, 1 month is 8% of the year. When do you think we'll know these? I mean, we're adopting a budget, and it's modest. I mean, it's ahead of inflation, it looks like, but not by a lot. And are we going to be able to assess what we're doing and the effect that it has on our objectives on a current basis?
Yes, I think that's the plan.
Okay, thank you.
Very welcome. Elizabeth, you had something?
Does this include the contribution from the XCOM members?
The expectation, the $250 fundraising expectation?
Right. And does this include the potential of the newsletter sponsorships?
Does not include either of those. Some of that donation income in there, that 20% increase, could be included in there. That would be 3 or 4 newsletter sponsorships. So I think that's a good place for you to plug.
Well, each XCOM member has a $250 fundraising expectation. If every member of the XCOM can secure 1 newsletter sponsorship, that's $250. Plus, we do have opportunities for podcast sponsorships in addition to that. So if we can get each XCOM member to do 1 of those, that will come very close to making up the shortfall.
There we go. And I think that's a good thing to mention, that with this, we do, each of us have a responsibility for bringing in funding, donations, sponsorships. So this is a great opportunity we have a 7,000 person list that we're sending to. It's a very well done list. We've got pretty good click rates. I think we're at 25-30% click rate. So we're along industry standards, 7,000 people that libertarians can get their names in front of. So if you guys know small business owners, if you know medium business owners, this is a great opportunity for not that much money, and they're supporting the Libertarian Party. It's just an opportunity for them to get their name out there with like-minded people, and it's also our opportunity to give them the chance to invest in what we're doing as well. An individual can sponsor as well. Mr. Aiken.
Do we have any sort of, I'll call it a media kit that tells them what we're doing? I mean, 7,000 is not a very robust number if you're thinking about getting out there. But what can a sponsor expect, and what kind of metric and feedback are they going to get back about, we did this, and you gave us $500 and we turned that into X? I mean, are we approaching the point where we'll say we're making an investment in this process and there's going to be a reward?
As far as what basically,
I mean, I guess my worry is that we're rattling around at 200 or 300 members. I mean, I don't know what this increase puts it to, but 350 or 4, I mean, whatever the number is. And that doesn't seem very ambitious in light of our opportunities. So I worry about that.
Mr. Johnson.
Hey guys, I'm just asking this because I don't know exactly how it works, but are some of the questions like from Mr. Aiken, can they be answered by whatever, like the finance committee or the recruiting and retention committee? I just don't know. Sincere question. Don't know how that works.
Yeah, they definitely can be. We have Mr. Aiken is our fundraising committee chair. And I guess recruiting and retention would be membership, which would be Mr. Dolan, who I don't see on, actually.
Mr. Dolan has been in and out of the meeting. He may be having connection issues.
Okay, that makes sense. So yes, the answer is they can be answered by those committees, according to Robert's rules, at least. But the big key is going to be having them.
Having them what?
The answers within the committee. As the fundraising director, some of those things I would assume could be directed to you, Mr. Aiken.
Well, I submitted, I think I've missed the last one or maybe even 2 of these meetings, but I think the last one I was involved in directly. I submitted some proposals, and one of them included raising the dues. And so we did that, so we hit the ball all the way over that fence. That we've now published new dues structure. And, but that's really nothing. What are the specific steps we're going to take to cause things to happen? That's my concern. And I tried to propose some things, And it was deemed that those things would be addressed in the future, and I'm not sure when the future starts.
Starts right now, Mr. Aiken. You have the floor. It's all yours, and we would love for you to propose those specific proposals for everyone to hear in the meeting. We'd love to hear what you're doing. We'd love to hear what you're putting forward. We'd love to hear what specific actions you've taken and what specific actions you plan on taking. And we're all ears.
Well, maybe Jane can pull up the proposal from a couple of meetings ago. I mean, I don't have that in front of me, whatever it was, but I suggested that we say that we're going to take specific steps. We're going to find a virtual assistant. We're going to invest in actions with the anticipation of getting a yield. And I don't know if Zane's got that at hand from 2 meetings ago, maybe. But those things were too, they couldn't be addressed at the time. And all that we could address was changing the numbers on our due structure to match the due structures that we were proposing or presenting on our website.
Mr. Lacey?
I do not have that to hand. I could pull it up probably in a couple minutes if the committee wanted to review it again. The specific reason why we could not really vote on the proposals that were in that document is that many of them were currently too vague to be considered a valid motion. All that we could really have done with them was to have voted to direct a certain person or committee to investigate them further, which a lot of the times the chair of the committees or the committees that would be tasked with doing those things could just go ahead and do those things themselves anyway. The only thing that the XCOM would need to vote in a formal motion, apart from just directing people to create proposals, would be when something more concrete or specific was available that might do something like impact the budget or do something else like that. The reason why we did vote on the motion to change the membership levels in terms of contributions was that because that changes the policy manual, that did need to be done by the executive committee directly. So just wanted to reiterate that for the committee's benefit.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Mr. Lacey.
Okay.
Mr. Johnson?
Thank you for clarifying how we move forward.
This is like a little small scale suggestion for recruiting. And you're probably going to really easily see my ulterior motive here, but I'm hosting a recruiting event in Cartersville, Georgia on January the 20th and the 21st. It's at a gun show, and it's going to pretty much rock. I've got this table cover and sign and lots of printed information and everything. And I'd love to have anybody from the Libertarian Party, cruise up here to Cartersville and help us spread the message of freedom and get people to, join the party in Bartow County and Polk County and Floyd counties. So check that out. The Cartersville Gun Show, January the 20th and the 21st. I'll be there all day, both days.
What a guy.
So y'all come join me. Fundraise, recruit. Let's do it.
There it is. Ms. Howell, we are getting a little off track, so I do want to bring us back, but I do want to see these as long as they are within the idea of budget. So Ms. Howell, if you are doing a budget related.
I had a question, but I'll post it in the comments.
Okay, thank you. Is it a question for the budget?
Jack had proposed this a plan in November, and I don't know whatever happened to that. So that was what my question was related to.
Okay. Yeah, we'll come back to that at another time. All right. Regarding this budget, do we want to? I will entertain a motion to adopt it, unless there are objections or anything of the sort. Mr. Aiken.
I've really got a question about the budget and how we proceed with it. You know, if we're the notion that we will start an expansion or project, or that we'll make investments and that we'll try to be aggressive and nimble in the field, and yet we can only run as far as this tether. Somehow that seems just inappropriate for us. You know, I mean, we got to be much more like a guerrilla warfare group or something. We got to be able to say, we're going to get this goal and we're going to do what has to happen between now and the time we hit the goal. And so if we say we're going to come in at a solid 631 for the year, that's just not very inspiring. I don't, and so if we are going to do something beyond that, and I'll tell you, I for one, I mean, I probably trip over Robert's Rules of Order and whatever the committee bylaws say and all that in pursuit of the goal. And I just think as an organization, somehow we have to be more nimble, more aggressive. And I'm not sure how to do that because I don't want to piss anybody off. I mean, I know everybody's working hard and thinking through this, and you know, all those numbers add up on that spreadsheet. But how are we going to get back to 2,000 members instead of 200 members? You know what I mean, just in a broad sweep of things, how are we going to make that happen? If our goal for the year is to come in at a solid 631.21, I just don't think that should be. I can't get inspired by 631.21. And so I'm looking for some help here, coming to understand how to make it work in a way that's going to actually have an impact that's measurable as a result of our efforts. So help me out. I mean, I'm really not trying to be a jackass, but
so what specifically would you like?
I'd like to embrace something along the lines of what I submitted 2 months ago.
Okay.
You know, that we're going to do these things, and then we're going to do that, and that we know it's going to cost between X and Y. To be driving membership. Whoever is responsible for affiliate support needs to be supporting affiliates. They need to figure out a way to get up here to Polk County or wherever this gun show's at, Cartersville, and help this guy that's looking for help. And then we need to invest in it. And we need to invest in it with anticipation that he's going to bring a yield. He sounds like he's trying to.
Yes.
And so just whatever those things are, that we have to do that. And I would do that before I worried about, you know, the Second Amendment, the Third Friendly Amendment. You know, I mean, I would do that first. I would do those. So I'm just sort of lost in the woods here. I'm just sort of lost in how we're going to get from $631 to changing the nature of government in our state. I just think there's just a huge gap there. I mean, I could be, I'm wrong, I'm sure.
Okay. I appreciate your input, Mr. Aiken. We're going to move on from that. So I will entertain a motion to postpone the adoption of the budget.
Second, or motion.
Could you do a full motion for me just for the sake of?
I would make a motion to turn the budget into an e-ballot to be completed between this meeting and the next.
Okay, is that a motion?
Yes.
It has been moved to put the budget in an e-ballot to be completed by the next meeting. You said?
Yes.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
It has been moved and seconded to put this budget as it stands currently into an e-ballot to be voted on by the beginning of next month, the next meeting, before the next meeting. Is there any debate? Mr. Allen? Or Mr. Placey, whoever.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Point of information, is it not true that we have the state convention at the end of this month, and next month we will have a new XCOM?
That is also true.
I proposed it as a ballot.
Okay, Mr. Placey.
I'm checking our policy manual now because I know there's a certain time period that e-ballots need to stay open according to our policy manual. And if that amount of time goes past the convention, then we would have a scenario where two different groups of people would be voting on it. If memory serves, I believe e-ballots only need to stay open for a week or two, which would be before the convention. I just wanted to flag that as a potential issue.
Okay. Yeah. If you could.
I'm checking that now.
Okay. Yeah, I think it is a 2-week period. I'll do a quick search as well.
So according to the bylaws, it only needs to remain open for 1 week. So as long as I open it before 1 week before the convention, which I definitely could do, this would not be an issue.
Okay. All right, Mr. Dolan, you had your hand up.
I was just thinking of along the lines of this, again, with the very close proximity to the convention, whether it would be appropriate to hand this very important decision off to the new executive committee in full. Let them consider it from the beginning.
That is a valid point. If you wanted to either, I might need some help on this, Mr. Placey, because it can't necessarily be an amendment to a motion, but it can be a motion just to postpone now that the motion is on the floor.
I believe that motion to amend would be in order right now, unless I'm missing something. Or
Okay, so we could amend the motion if you'd like, Mr. Dolan. We can amend it to be either a postponement to after the new executive committee, or it could be an amendment, or just a postponement of this specific motion as well.
I would ask whether Amber would consider entertaining this as a friendly amendment.
Sure.
Okay, it's been moved to postpone this question until the next executive committee meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and
Person
seconded.
meeting.
Say again?
Will the next meeting be the in-person meeting at the convention?
Yes.
Okay.
Ooh, that's awful. But it would need to be postponed to that meeting. So it's been moved and seconded to postpone this to the next meeting. Is there any?
Okay. Given that you're talking about doing this at the in-person meeting, if I might amend my own amendment
Sure.
to make this the next regularly scheduled monthly executive committee meeting.
Okay. I'm gonna
Okay.
skip all that.
That would be the meeting on February 12th.
Correct.
February 12th. Okay. Mr. Barker, would you be okay with that as a second?
Yes.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to postpone this to the next regularly scheduled meeting, which would be February 12th, we said?
Yes.
February 12th. Is there any debate? Hearing none. Those in favor of postponing this till February 12th?
That is not.
I see 10 votes in favor. Oh, 10 votes in favor.
10 votes in favor. All right, you can lower your hands. Those opposed, Mr. Sheehan. Those opposed? All right. The ayes have it. This motion carries, and this is postponed until the 12th. And Mr. Moldenhauer, if you could, in the meantime, post this version of the budget, cleaned up, whatever it needs to be, and we can put that on the executive committee base camp in the meantime.
Will do.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Next piece is a resolution to support House Bill 200 and oppose House Bill 419. And that belongs to Mr. Allen. Do we have that available to present? Nice. Okay. I will let you take it away, Mr. Allen, if you would.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move the adoption of the following resolution. Whereas the platform of the Libertarian Party of Georgia states that we support election systems that are more representative of the electorate at the federal, state, and local levels, and that we oppose laws that effectively deny the voters their right to consider all legitimate alternatives. And whereas Georgia currently requires a candidate to receive a majority of the vote in order to win an election, with a separate runoff election being held if no candidate receives a majority, and whereas instant runoff voting eliminates the cost of holding an additional election, eliminates the inconveniences voters face when trying to fit an additional election into the schedules, and preserves the requirement that a candidate receive a majority of the vote in order to win an election. And whereas instant runoff voting enables voters to rank their preferred candidate first without having to worry about the so-called spoiler effect in plurality voting systems. And whereas Georgia already provides instant runoff voting ballots for military and overseas voters. And whereas House Bill 200 as introduced would provide for the option for municipalities to adopt and use instant runoff voting for their elections. And whereas House Bill 200 merely provides municipalities the option of instant runoff voting rather than mandating its use. And whereas the likelihood of the passage of House Bill 200 would be improved if municipalities express their support for the legislation. And whereas House Bill 419, as introduced, would provide for election by plurality of votes instead of majority in general elections. And whereas a candidate receiving less than majority of votes implies that the majority of votes were actually against them. And whereas plurality voting creates an incentive for people to vote strategically rather than vote for their preferred candidate, which reinforces a two-party system and disadvantages alternative candidates. Therefore, be it resolved that the Libertarian Party of Georgia 1. Supports the passage of House Bill 200, and 2. Calls upon municipal governments to adopt resolutions supporting the passage of House Bill 200, and 3. Opposes the passage of House Bill 419.
Thank you. It has been moved.
Second, enthusiastically.
It has been moved and seconded to adopt the resolution as proposed on the screen. Is there any discussion? Mr. Placey?
Mr. Allen, if you would be amenable to this, I believe that the phrase two parties should be hyphenated, which I didn't see until I pasted it into this Word document.
I have no objection.
Without objection, that change is adopted. It has been moved and seconded to adopt the resolution as proposed on the screen. Is there any further discussion? Mr. Allen, if you would be so kind, I had two questions that came up. House Bill 200 is for ranked choice, correct?
Correct. Instant runoff voting.
Okay. And House Bill 419 is plurality.
Correct.
Cool. And the last thing is, in your role as political director, do you have any insight on who's kind of giving support to each of these? Just out of curiosity, it doesn't really matter.
So there is bipartisan support for House Bill 200, but it's not strong enough to get it passed, at least as far as last session goes. 419 is more favored by Republicans in general, but by no means by all Republicans.
Okay. Thank you. That's super helpful. All right. Is there any further discussion on this? All right. Hearing none, we'll take this to a vote. Those in favor of adopting this resolution. Oh, is that a vote?
Yep.
Okay. Those in favor, please indicate so by raising your hands on the screen.
I see 14 votes in favor.
What? Okay, you can lower your hands. All right, those opposed? Seeing none, the ayes have it, and the motion carries. The resolution as shown on the screen is adopted. Mr. Allen? No. Okay. All right. What is next on our agenda? We have a motion to waive the convention tabling fee for Better Ballot Georgia, coming from Ms. Howell.
Are you waiting for me to speak to this?
Yes, if you could.
This was something that we did in 22, and I believe we've done it in the past a few times before, but their work directly impacts us. So I would like to make a motion to donate a table or waive the fee, however we want to word that, for Better Ballot Georgia to table at the convention.
Second, enthusiastically.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to waive, we'll call it waiving the tabling fee for Better Ballot Georgia, if that is okay with you. Is there any debate? Mr. Barker?
How much are we waiving?
A table is $100.
Thank you.
Is there any further debate? Hearing none, we will take this to a vote. Those in favor of waiving that fee for Better Ballot Georgia? I see 10, 11.
11 votes.
Okay, y'all can lower your hands. Those opposed? The ayes have it, and that fee is waived for Better Ballot Georgia. And if you guys aren't aware, they do petitioning and stuff while they're there. So make sure and stop by their table. They do good stuff and sign whatever petition they're bringing out this time. Now we'll reiterate what Mr. McKinney says in the chat. Thank you. Steve Phillips is our guy, and I'll get you the information, Mr. Graham. Okay. Next on the new business and motions is the endorsement of candidates for special elections. Did we have anybody that had stepped forward? I know we were having some conversations.
Yeah, I have a point of inquiry. Has John Turbish agreed to run?
That is a good question. Was that Elizabeth that was in touch with him?
So when I spoke to him, he said that basically he would consider doing it if we couldn't find anyone else. So we don't have a definite answer, but it's still kind of up in the air. There are only like 2 or 3 other people that would even be qualified as far as membership and living in the district. So I know that Christine Austin has been talking with him, but I don't have a definite answer yet.
Okay. Would there be any objection to putting this into an e-ballot if that comes up? And I see that question, and I was hoping to avoid it. I think, yeah, okay. Let's do the e-ballot. I would prefer not to do a pre-endorsement of anyone who doesn't necessarily want to, Mr. Placey.
Yeah, I'm not sure that a hypothetical endorsement we can do, unfortunately.
Yeah, it would be like the bills that have the specific language in them for when one certain action occurs. So we'll do an e-ballot, and we'll try and get an answer on that. If that comes out, please make sure to check your email or Basecamp, depending on where we decide to do it. I think it would probably be in Basecamp to make sure it's all there and everything. So qualifying ends Wednesday, and it's coming fast. So
wait, qualifying ends this Wednesday?
Yes.
Like, that's in 2 days.
Which means we wouldn't even be able to do it.
Which means that we would have to start the e-ballot by tomorrow and have everybody vote on it immediately. Because even if everybody votes on it, it's e-ballots still have to remain open for 24 hours after the threshold for it passing is reached.
Yeah. I think that's okay though, because he just has to qualify, right? We're not talking about he can go and get qualified without our endorsement. If I understand that correctly, right? I'm pretty sure that the law doesn't require our endorsement. So I think we can still get away with it and not have any issues. So we'll do that. We'll do an e-ballot and let it be. And then just, again, we'll try and do it fast because the timeline is still fast for a special election. You know, you got like a month maybe. So if we waste any time on this ballot, it could just be someone running without our endorsement. So thank you for that clarification, Mr. Graham. So yeah, we'll take that. All right. We have a final motion from Mr. Allen for the motion to direct the Communications Committee to create a social media policy. If you want to speak to that.
Yeah, I'll make the motion. I move to direct the Communications Committee to create updates to the policy manual regarding social media based upon the recommendations contained in the final report of the Special Investigative Committee issued on June 11th, 2023.
And that's
And
in the policy manual?
Could you put the text of that motion in the chat for me? Thank you very much.
Okay. It has been moved to direct the Communications Committee to create updates to the policy manual regarding
Second,
social media.
enthusiastically.
Been moved and seconded. 2, direct the Communications Committee to create updates to the policy manual regarding social media based on the recommendations contained in the final report of the Special Investigative Committee issued on June 11th, 2023. Is there any debate? Mr. Barker?
Got to turn the mic on. Should a time frame be assigned to that, since this was back from June and nothing's been done, that they have to have updates completed by X date?
I did add
it in June again.
Mr. Allen?
Nothing's been done because no one's been directed to do anything and no one has taken the initiative. This would actually direct action and hopefully we'll see activity on it. I didn't want to give a specific deadline because I know the people in the Communications Committee are going to be busy getting ready for convention. I don't want to be pressuring them too hard. If we don't see motion, then we can always amend this later and put in a deadline.
I think we need a deadline.
Would you like to make that amendment?
Yes. I
Okay.
move that be completed by our next Zoom meeting post-convention.
Okay. It has been moved to add language to this motion. We'll say what the motion will look like at the end. I move to direct the Communications Committee to create updates to the policy manual by February 12th, 2024 regarding social media based on the recommendations contained in the report. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to add a deadline, the 12th of February, 2024, to this report, or to the recommendation, the updates to the policy manual based on the recommendations. Is there any debate? Mr. Allen?
I don't believe 1 month would be sufficient. If we want to add a timeline, there should be at least 2 months, I believe.
Okay. Mr. Johnson?
Hey, is that final report still in Basecamp?
I believe so. Mr. Placey?
You can find it in the Docs and Files section of the Executive Committee channel on Basecamp.
Thank you. Mr. Barker? Oh.
Never mind.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to amend the motion to add language to put a date of February 12th on the original motion. Is there any further debate?
Would Mr. Barker be amenable to changing it to the next month? Would that be a sufficient compromise?
Go ahead, Mr. Barker.
With an explanation as to why it would take that long, possibly.
Mr. Allen?
As I stated, so the Communications Committee, as it stands, to my knowledge, only consists of the Communications Director and the Social Media Director. So that's two people. And they're both going to be occupied preparing for the state convention. So if we have it set up to where they need to be done with this by next month, they're going to have to rush. And I don't think that's good for creating the sound policy.
And the option is open if somebody does want to make that motion as well to amend that amendment. And then we have to start working back.
Well, I'm willing to amend my motion to make it March.
Okay, it's been moved. Is there a second?
I'll second that too.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to amend the amendment to the original motion to make
No, I don't think that we're. This isn't a second order amendment because the Mr. Barker simply changed what his motion was. So we're still on the first order amendment.
I'll let you. It belongs to the floor, but I'm going to let it go. And we'll just say, for the sake of time, we're moving it to March. So the motion as it stands now, as amended, right now we're currently just voting on the amendment to add a deadline of the March meeting of the executive committee for a social media policy. Is there any further debate? Hearing none, we'll take this to a vote. Again, the vote is simply on the amendment to put a deadline on the original motion. Those in favor, please raise your hands. Mr. Placey, was that you wanting to talk or you voting?
No, that was voting.
Okay.
Eight in favor.
In favor?
9.
All right. Y'all can lower your hands. All right, those opposed. Seeing none, the motion carries. The amendment is adopted. So the language as amended would be, I'll put it in the chat for you. What's that March meeting, the second Monday of March? Anyone?
I think we can just specify the March meeting since
Okay.
we're only going to have one regularly scheduled one.
Okay, so the language that we're voting on currently, I move to direct the Communications Committee to create updates to the policy manual by the March Executive Committee meeting regarding social media based upon the recommendations contained in the final report of the Special Investigative Committee issued on June 11th, 2023. Language is a little bit awkward, but that's what we'll go for. Is there any debate? Hearing none, we'll take this to a vote. Those in favor of adopting this motion, please indicate so.
$11 in favor.
All right. You can lower your hands. All right, and those opposed? Okay, I see none. I'm going to assume that's a hand still hanging out, Mr. Moldenhauer. The ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. The social media, the Communications Committee will be directed to create a social media policy to go in the policy manual by the March Executive Committee meeting. All right. So we'll move forward. Chair's report is very simple this week. I have a meeting hopefully coming up with Carter Barrett, who is a Republican in Forsyth County, for the legal tender project to try and get him as a co-sponsor for the bill. I've spoken with him in the past, and we've talked through some other issues, so I think he would be on board with this one. So we're going to see where this one lands. I think that's going to be an exciting and good time. So hopefully I'll have an update for you guys once that hits the legislative floor and gets its first reader, and then we can see about taking some next steps on it. Alex and I have been working on the budget and some other projects as far as getting some automation going with membership. Hey, session has begun. I guess that was today, wasn't it? Yes, so legislative session is in, so hopefully that will drop very soon, and I'll check with our other sponsor, Mr. Donahue. So those are the big things as far as that goes. And the big pieces, I'm looking to make some changes to kind of what we're doing in the back end with members and donors, and kind of building some stuff out for taking care of the people that we've already got here, to kind of retain them and build up a really good donor base. So we'll be fleshing that out as we come along as the year progresses. So be on the lookout. Those are my big pieces for the chair's report. Next piece, Mr. Vice Chair, if you want to take that in communications.
Yeah, basically everything I have to say goes out as an email. So I'm not really sure I have anything else to add. If you're curious about the numbers for December, they're in the agenda, but that's all I've got. And everything else, check your inbox. And if you have anything to send out through, the email list, just please get with me and we'll make that happen.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Our executive director, Elizabeth, you still on? There we go.
Yeah, I'm here. So the first affiliate leadership meeting of the year will be this week, Thursday. So I encourage all of you who are in affiliate leadership to have a representative from your affiliate to attend. On the 17th, we will have our first Banish Big Brother meeting of the year. As a guest, we will have James Dutton, who is a lawyer and chair of the Spalding County Commission, to discuss his lawsuit that seems destined to go to the state Supreme Court concerning the state or the school zone speed camera violation citations. So I encourage everyone to come to that meeting. We will also be doing some strategy as to how we're going to, the things that we're going to do moving forward for 2024. We are looking, the dates are still up in the air, but it looks like it will be either April or September that we will be hosting the chair of the Libertarian Party of the UK and the secretary of the Libertarian Party of the UK. And I already have 2 volunteers to provide lodging. So I need 1 or 2 more. Also, I'll need some volunteers to help with transporting them different places. And we would like to include them in some of our events, and they will reciprocate by hosting a couple of our members either later this year or next year. So I think that would be really exciting to have them over here, particularly on a year that's going to be so volatile with the 2024 election. Should be interesting. So if you have any questions about any of those things or want to volunteer, please feel free to reach out to me. And that's it.
And a question for you: the specific needs on the hosting of the people coming over. We need 2 people to volunteer.
I have 2 volunteers so far. I would like 1 more at least.
One
So they're
more.
going to be here a week, and asking someone to host for more than a day or 2 is a huge ask. So if we could get several people to host for a day or 2, we should be able to cover a week. And we would like for them to be able to visit different parts of the state as well. And so then that's also going to involve having people who are willing to, like, maybe if you can't host, maybe you could pick them up and take them, from one host to the next host.
Okay. And this is happening when?
We don't know for sure yet, but it will either be the end of April or September.
Okay. So everybody be thinking about that. Think if you can offer one of those things. And if we get, maybe a little more drilled in on that, we'll have a better way to ask for a specific week or something. But please be thinking about that. I think that's a really important thing. We're not just us in Georgia. We are a movement throughout the nation and obviously throughout the world. So this is a great opportunity for us and for them. So let's try and be super hospitable in that. And when was that Vanished Big Brother meeting again? Just so I can have it written down.
That is on the 17th.
Cool. All right. And everybody's invited to that as well, right?
Yes. It's specifically, the invitation specifically goes out to those who are members of working groups, but anybody that would like to come and listen to what the speaker has to say or hear what we're doing in that regard is welcome.
Cool. So great opportunity to see what's going on if you're on the executive committee and want to see some of the stuff that's going on the ground. This is a good opportunity. Okay. Moving. Was there anything else? Any other questions? Okay. We'll move on to the secretary's report.
I'm just doing some convention prep stuff. If I need anything from you, you probably already know. The official notice of the convention will be running tomorrow in the Macon newspaper in compliance with the bylaws, just so everyone knows. Nothing besides that.
Awesome. Thank you for being on top of that. That always helps us and keeps us from getting in hot water. All right, our treasurer's report.
Thank you, Chair. Okay, so December was cash positive. We can see that over here. And that's mainly because of the convention income that came in. Pretty much everything else as far as membership income and things that are variable were, as we predicted, we can see our total over here is going up as far as the cash that we have in our bank accounts. And then I realize now that I kind of bombarded the screen with the amount of budget while I was summarizing it. So I'll go through this a little more, and I'll post it with the 2022 amounts. But here are all the categories that we have for incomes and expenses. The top portion is income. And here we have what we tracked in 2023, along with the totals down here. And then we have expenses near the bottom in the second half. And I didn't really leave the screen there because I wanted to focus on what would be necessary in order for us to break even. But everything that's changed, I've put a highlight on, and I will add that as a key when I add this to Basecamp. And then I'm also working on, as Jared said, a more step-by-step plan, along with some end of the year things for the IRS and the FEC.
All right. Any questions? Hearing none. That's the end of our meeting. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Mosley does point out in the chat that I don't think we ever returned to the ballot access update.
Oh, man. Wow. I'm sorry. Can we have you bring it up? What happened there? How did we even miss that? I'll take the blame. All right, Mr. Mosley, you can have your ballot access time. The floor is yours. We can't hear you.
How about now?
We hear you kind of far away, but we hear you.
Is it better?
That's better.
Okay, good. I won't take too long. We have ballot access has been a major concern for us since August of 22, when the Rose v. Raffensperger situation arose. That has now been resolved to our favor. So we are in a good situation. But we have one more major barrier to overcome, and that is that we must find our two PSC candidates for District 3 and District 5 and get them nominated at convention. So if anybody's confused about where these districts are, I just posted the link to the official site from the PSC website in the chat. It's very easy to read. All the districts wrap around all the counties. They do not split any of the counties. And so if you know what county you're in, you know what district you're in. It's very simple. I need everybody to get serious about making sure that we have two solid candidates going into the convention, and we've vetted them a little bit to make sure that they're all good and qualified, especially to do with the issue of candidates disqualifying themselves after the convention because some family or work issue arose. We must not let that's happened multiple times over the years, and we must do our best to try to avoid that this year, because we need both these candidates to be on the ballot. Going into 2024, we are this is going to be our 19th general election since 1988, where we will earn our ballot access through our vote totals. This will carry our statewide ballot access into 2026 and the future. So this is completely unprecedented among third parties in Georgia. We are the 900-pound gorilla as far as ballot access goes, and we must continue to make this happen. And this is all contingent on having our candidates going into the convention, getting them properly nominated, getting them properly qualified with the Secretary of State, and then supporting them through the remainder of the campaign. I made a post overnight to the XCOM group on Basecamp. If you haven't read it, I request that you read it. It gives a roadmap for what we have to do this year in more detail than I'm able to give right now. But this does need to be top of mind and on everybody's priority agenda through the convention. And Jared, I have a request as far as the agenda order going into the convention. If you can make it happen, if you can put this PSC nomination at the top of the business agenda, I think that would serve us best. In case we run into curveballs, we would have the remainder of the convention to deal with this. So let's see, what else? As you're talking to people about this, I've created a tool, and I've noticed I've sent a bunch of you texts, and I put this into my post from last night to the group. I'll post it again in the chat. This is a very simple tool. It just lists my opinions of minimum expectations we have for our PSC candidates. These are expectations that anyone can, virtually all of us can meet. The PSC race is not a difficult race to run, properly supported. Our candidates can do well. Elizabeth did well in 2020, starting from scratch, like literally, and others have done just as well. So I am, that's about all I have to say right now. I'm available to meet with any of you and any potential candidate to clarify to them what needs to be done and to help them understand that this is doable for any of you. But we cannot fall down on this. So let's see. I would like to ask a couple people to speak, if we can go a couple more minutes. First of all, I'd like to, last month we were not able to get Ryan on. I'd like to have Ryan come on and speak for a couple minutes about why he ran in 2018 and what his experience was. And if he can just give a couple minute interview, if that's okay with the body. Can we do that?
We can do it. I'll allow it. Mr. Graham, if you are on and available.
Yep. And I'm a proud member of the Brevity Caucus, so I will try to keep it short. Yeah. So when in 2018, I was really getting more invested in the LP. I had been with us for a couple of years and had kind of finally decided that that's what I wanted to do to help the party. And so I looked over all the statewide races and I decided, what seemed the most interesting based on what was available, really. Like I didn't know anything about PSC when I decided to do that. But I did know it was the place where you get the best vote totals to impact, to be able to better keep our ballot access. So, it just was intriguing. And then to kind of find out about what was important, you just go out and look at news articles and things like that. What are people talking about? Go on Twitter and look at who's referencing them, look at what they're talking about, and some stuff like that. And then look over the law too, the Constitution and the Georgia Code, outlining the stuff that they actually do. But the good thing about the media is that they'll tell you what's actually interesting, because the PSC is boring as heck. Very powerful, and nobody knows what they do, and they don't care because when you explain it, their eyes glaze over. So there's always going to be little things here and there, though, that require something from somebody that is seeking such a position. And so it's really good to talk to those issues. So like for me, it was Plant Vogel was really big. And then anything to do with power, even if it wasn't something that could totally be done from the position, but talking about energy policy or lack thereof, and the benefits of lack thereof, you know, that just resonated with folks. So that's all I got.
Cool. It's enlightening. It's super helpful. So,
And anyone you have, I mean, talking to previous candidates was big for me. So I'm available for anyone who, you know, throws their hat in the ring.
love it. It looks like we got 2 in the chat who have possibly considered it. So,
Well, so both of those 2 that Jack mentioned are both in the 5th district, and I've had discussion with Tom Blooming, but that's all. And so the only serious discussion I've had is that discussion with Tom. I want to have several more for going into the convention. But before we close out, I would like to have we're fortunate to have Colin with us tonight. Colin gets the award for probably being in the strangest situation of any of our candidates ever in LPGA history, and I call that lost in space. So, so I'd like to hear from Colin if he has any information about what's going to be coming down with the PSC2 race. If life were perfect, and this is not anything that any of us control, I'd love to have 3 solid candidates, Colin being one of them, going into this 2024 election. So, Colin, give us a quick report.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's been very strange. And, you know, as y'all know, I'm really in this just to secure ballot access for LP Georgia. You know, that's my main goal. But now that I've been in it now for so long, you know, I've learned a lot about kind of how our system works and the things that really kind of go against our libertarian kind of ideals. You know, the fact that our elected officials basically kind of force everyone to go with a certain company for their electricity provider. You know, that's just the main thing for me that we need to fix. And you know, fixing that's going to be immensely complicated and very, very difficult. But it is one of those things that really just kind of flies in the face of the free market, and that's going to be kind of my main message. You know, I am not going to necessarily advocate for one form of energy over another. You know, any more than I would advocate for one chicken sandwich over another. You know, I think that really as you know, free market supporters, we should support everybody's right to kind of choose their provider and make those choices based on you know, their ideals, where your energy comes from, how much it costs, what the repercussions are, and also I also want to kind of use the platform to speak out against any kind of eminent domain. I would definitely never support any kind of eminent domain if that ever came up, if I were, you know, if I happened to be elected. Yeah, I'm really curious how this is going to go, how that theoretically there's going to be an election, and I'm happy to help out and represent y'all again, and also help out anyone else who wants to throw their hat in the ring.
Okay, thanks, Colin. And I'm going to close this out and let all of you know that I have not heard anything from anybody in PSC District 3. And we're close enough to the convention that is a concern. PSC3 is Fulton County, DeKalb County, Clayton County, and Rockdale counties. So please help me network through people and find and find people. What I can tell you, what I can say to anybody who's never done this before and is intimidated by it, follow Elizabeth Milton's lead. She stood up just out of a commitment in 2020. She did a great job. And anybody that will be like Elizabeth, I will guarantee that I'll be right there with you the entire way. And I'll bring a team of people like Ryan and John Turpish and others who have been PSC candidates before. You will not be alone, and we will see you through. This is very important. And with that, I'll sign off. Thank you for listening. Look to see everybody at the convention.
Awesome. We always appreciate it. Thank you, Mark. All right. Now I will hear a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. Without objection, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody. And I appreciate all you do. Y'all take care, and we'll see you again soon. Is Danny on?
No.
Nope. Okay. I was going to try and catch him. Well, that sucks.
Jared, did you want something from Authorize?